both teams have flashy players, and we didn't see enough of it, really.
At some point, you got to recognize that things aren't working.
Like, this was a defensive game, 0 for 5 on 4th downs. I mean, you got to give credit to the Eagles' defense. They just stepped up.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to Football X's and O's, our weekly tactics show giving you the inside analysis on the best NFL matchups every Monday. We'll take a deeper dive into the Eagles' 16-9 win over the Lions in Week 11. I'm Ryan Cito. Alongside me is NFL expert David Scott. David, if you love defense, this was the game for you.
Yeah, this was kind of fought in the trenches here. It was pretty ugly on offense, but there were a few bright spots, and we're going to dive more into them.
All right, what topics do you have for us?
All right, so we got speed demon. Jameson Williams has been finding more involvement in this Lion offense in recent weeks. Got a couple touchdowns coming in the last few weeks. We're going to talk about what he did well last night. We're going to talk about a soft opening. Amon-Ra St. Brown set up that touchdown. He didn't get too much play in this game, but he had a couple nice catches that really set up some opportunities. Those opportunities might not have been taken, but he set them up. We're going to talk about back against the wall. The Eagles had a really crucial play while in their own end zone. Jalen Hurts did some improvisation to find Jahan Dotson to really save this game and set up the win. We're going to talk about 4th and done. The Lions, they live and die by the 4th down call. They died by it last night. They went 0 for 5 on those. We're going to talk about what went so wrong in those plays. And then outside looking in, Lions don't hold the playoff spot anymore. Things are looking a little dire for them right now, but they might have a chance to sneak back in.
All right, let's get to the first play. Eagles up 6-0. Lions have the ball 1st and 10 on the Eagles' 40, and Goff finds Jameson Williams.
Yeah, this is the kind of play that you want to script up when you've got a guy like Jameson Williams, one of the fastest dudes in football, and they haven't really been utilizing him like that. The last couple of weeks has gotten better with Dan Campbell taking over the play calling duties, and this play is an example of what you do when you have speed. Nice big looping route with Jameson Williams. No cuts, because you want to really let him get up to speed. And when he can loop like this, he can really accelerate the whole way through the route. And by the time he gets to midfield, he is dusting his cornerback. He's well behind him. Easy target for Goff, and then he blitzes his way into the end zone. This is a great play. Just use the speed that you've got. Williams is a guy that you want to send on go routes. You want to send him on quick slants. You want to send him across the middle of the field. He's got a lot of speed. You've got to use that speed. They've used it recently. That's why he's scoring more. He was not a part of the offense for a big part of the season. He's finally getting involved again.
I feel like with Detroit, this was a touchdown, by the way. They were just in rhythm in this play. I feel like the play action really worked in this play, and it really looked well on the offensive line's part in this play. We just didn't see it enough last night.
Yeah, this is really like one of the main highlights from the night. It was tough picking out plays for the Lions in this matchup, and yet sometimes you when you look at something that goes so well like this, and then the game ends up with just no other scoring, you really question, why didn't they cook up more stuff like that? And you really don't have an answer for it. It felt like the Lions were on their back foot a lot of this game. They were really just scrambling to find answers, and they were never in a position where they could really utilize their talents. They were always just trying to get that deep shot, get that first down that wasn't available to them. It was tough sledding the whole time. They were in it in the first half, and then it really just slipped away from them from there.
And going back to Jameson Williams, you're correct. Like, they should be using him more in this offense. Yeah, you have Laporta, you have St. Brown, you have so many mouths to feed Gibbs. But Jameson Williams, he just has that game-ending speed. Like, he can end a game for their own team. So I feel like Jameson Williams needs to be utilized and involved in this offense.
Yeah, we spoke about it a few weeks ago when he really wasn't playing. That, hey, like, when you got to find a player, like, get to Williams, like, he really needs to find more involvement. They've done that recently, but it seems like now that they've involved him, they're starting to lose games. So I don't know what's going on. It's encouraging that they're using Williams. The offense needs to get a little less one-dimensional. It should be a well-rounded unit, and hopefully with the involvement of Williams, they can find a bit more success on offense against tough units like the Eagles.
All right, so that was a touchdown, but this was the play that set up the touchdown. Jared Goff to St. Brown.
Yeah, so this is an interesting play design. I highlighted this play because I haven't really seen much like this. This is stuff that Dan Campbell draws up that really excites you and makes you wonder why they don't win more football games, because they're doing interesting things like this that get guys open. Amon-Ra St. Brown does a weird motion here where he cuts to the left and actually goes through the offensive line. He's acting almost as if he's a rusher going through the offensive line, but he doesn't have the football yet. I haven't seen much like that ever, and I don't really know what the benefit of it is. I know it worked, so that's something.
Yep.
But yeah, he cuts through, sneaks through the offensive line that might confuse the corner that's on him, and is able to find just a huge gap in the defense. I was having trouble deciphering if this was a zone or a man coverage, because he ended up having 3 guys around him, but at the same time, the other routes were covered. Don't know. Could have been just a defensive misstep from the Eagles, or it could be that this weird route that we're looking at here just had so much confusion that he was able to find a huge gap in the defense. Don't really know what was going on here, but this is an example of Dan Campbell can scheme up some really exciting stuff for the Lions, but when they get away from it, they get behind in games.
And St. Brown, I feel like his speed was great in this route because he has to, for Goff to find him, he has to stay in that pocket a little bit, and the pressure really wasn't there. We saw it a lot yesterday, and for this one, again, with the offensive line, I feel like offensive line is so underrated in football, and Goff had enough time to hit St. Brown.
Yeah, Williams is their speedster, but St. Brown has got nothing to scoff at, so the fact that he's able to get that kind of separation so quickly, but yeah, props to the offensive line for giving Goff time in a play like this. Again, lots of strengths on this team that just aren't coming together and meshing at the right times. Worked on this play, worked on the previous play that we talked about, and then didn't work all that much the rest of the game.
And it feels like St. Brown, obviously Goff was intending for St. Brown, but I feel like there were good decoys. I mean, there's always decoys on this offense, and I feel like when the Lions are on their game, there's so many decoys, there's so many mouths to feed. You don't know who Goff is throwing to, and for this one, it really worked out in this play.
Yeah, decoys, because you look over here, you got Jameson Williams darting up the field. Mm-hmm. He could be a threat, and then he was a threat on the next play. You got, Sam Laporta wasn't playing in this game, but you've got a tight end coming across the field. You got Gibbs in the backfield that could always be a threat. So lots of options, as we keep saying, and it works out here. It works out on the next play. It worked throughout the game, but as we'll talk about later, they just couldn't execute when they needed to finish.
All right, fast forward to the third quarter. Eagles have the ball 13-6. They got a touchdown right after that drive, but that was a tush-push. We're not going to show that. I don't think the viewers want to see it either.
Yuck.
So we'll get to the third quarter. They have the ball 2nd and 10 on their own 6-yard line, and Hurts is in his own end zone and finds Dotson.
Yeah, this is an important play because they're backed up. The Lions have a chance to get a really crucial stop here and try and get back into this game. And Hurts it acts as an improviser here. This is stuff that Hurts can do that we can't see a lot. We don't see a lot. He gets out of the pocket. He finds people downfield. This is a rare play for him. He's not acting like this a lot in football games. This play art is a bit speculative because this is not exactly what was meant to happen. When you roll out of the pocket and when there's pressure like that, things are going to change around the field. Guys are going to have to adjust their routes. So I'm not sure if this is exactly how it was meant to play out. We're looking over at Dotson here. What Dotson was initially running is a hitch route. It's when you go up, hit your point, and then cut back as sort of like a timing route where you cut back, you expect the ball to be there. When he turns around, Hurts is flying to his right side. There's a ton of pressure on him. So Dotson transforms this into a hitch and go route. Same thing, go up, hit your point, hitch back, stop at that hitch, the ball's not coming, and then go up the field. That's a great way to beat a corner because the corner's going to try and jump that route, jump the timing to get to the ball. The ball's not there. Dotson turns back up the field. Hurts recognizes that he's got an opening. It's a very tight window, rolling to his right side, hits him perfectly down the field. Dotson gets blasted on this play, catches the ball, takes a huge hit from the safety, actually draws a flag for it, holds on to the ball. They get a big first down, and this really changes the outcome of the game.
And we were talking about decoys with the Lions. Same thing goes with the Eagles. You got Brown, you got Smith, you got Goddard. The running back was Saquon Barkley. And this guy named John Dotson, who actually contributed in the Super Bowl, he steps up when it was really crucial in this game. And I feel like having Dotson in this offense, he's a guy that can hold his own, and you saw it in this play.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have been stepping up outside of the regular contributors as this offensive turmoil happens for the Eagles. But when you're having a play like this where things break down, that can be a little terrifying for a defense because now there's guys all over the place going everywhere and you're just not sure what's going to happen. When you're lined up in your defense, at least you have an idea of what you want to do. All right, we're going to cover our zones or we're going to cover our guys and following them on their routes. But when things break down, it's anarchy out there, and you don't know where things are going. Saquon Barkley's over here. A.J. Brown's coming across the field. Devontae Smith is on a go route, but maybe he's coming back now. And it ends up being Jahan Dotson who finds an opening in that chaos for a big first down.
And Goff obviously was struggling in this game. Hurts had his struggles too, but I feel like in this play, I feel like Hurts always has that capability of a deep play, a deep throw to A.J. Brown or Smith, and we saw it in this play.
Yeah, Hurts definitely has a clutch gene to him. He's a Super Bowl winning quarterback, a Super Bowl MVP. He's got that in him. We haven't seen it a lot this year, but on this play, he showed you why he won a Super Bowl MVP. He's got the ability to be a decent passer. He can get out when he senses pressure, and this is an important play. This is a huge play in this game, and he gets it done. There is that clutch gene to Hurts. It's just not showing up a lot this year.
All right, so the Eagles find a way to win. 16-9 wasn't pretty. We'll take a look at the team stats, and I got to say, the Detroit Lions, they were just struggling throughout the game, But the fourth down, like you said, they live and die by the fourth down, 0 for 5.
Yeah, at some point, you got to recognize that things aren't working and switch it up. And this has happened to Dan Campbell before. He has had games like this where they go for every fourth down and they have missed every fourth down. And it happened again last night. You got to think that if they, tried a couple field goals instead of just keep going for fourth down, they could have had a win in this game. Like, a lot of things could have changed if they just decided to punt the ball. The Eagles wouldn't have had as good field position as they did. And sure, the Eagles didn't capitalize on a lot of the field position that they had. They only scored 13 points, but still, the Lions had an opportunity to more effectively control this game. When you're giving up the ball 5 times without fail, that's not going to work out well for you. You got to find different ways to manage your offense. You can't just keep, beating a dead horse, and that's what Campbell did, and it just didn't work.
I feel like the Lions, whenever it succeeds, like against the Ravens early in the season, everyone loves it. And then once, obviously, it doesn't work out, everyone hates it. I'm in the middle. I think you should be going for it when you have to. But 5 times, that seems a little excessive to me. And I think, like you said, after those first couple times, you see it's not working out. You're looking at that Vic Fangio defense. You say, you know what, Jake Bates, we trust you. Hit this field goal. And really, that's what happened in this game.
Yeah, going for it on fourth down is part of the modern NFL. That's just what you do. Every analytics, pop up on the broadcast, it's going to say go for it. That's just what they do. You got to find a happy medium. At some point, you can't be going for 4th and 7. They were going for these long fourth downs when they really didn't need to, and in
their own territory too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's poor decision making. Dan Campbell should know better. He should know the position that his team is in. He should know that, hey, we lose this game, we're out of the playoff picture. There's a lot that should be going on in their heads that just simply wasn't. It says 1 turnover, but if you consider the fourth downs, they had 6 turnovers in this game, so that you're not going to win a football game like that.
I totally agree. And to the Eagles, they weren't that great, obviously. Their defense played a huge role in this game. The offense, we keep seeing it, just very inconsistent. It's like 3 or 4 play drives. Like, it's just not working out with this Eagles offense, yet they still find a way to win.
Yeah, the Eagles are going to continue to stay in games because of their defense, and that's going to give them, some opportunities down the year. If their offense starts to click, that makes them an even scarier team. This defense is going to make them a playoff contender regardless. You see that in a team like the Broncos, where the defense is just keeping them going, and when the offense does play well, that finds them wins. The Eagles' offense has not played well at all, really. They've had a couple solid games, but it's mostly been really pretty ugly. The defense is really, really solid. They made some very smart acquisitions at the deadline. A guy like Jalen Phillips had a really good night last night. If this defense continues being a tough unit, continues with this just low-scoring affairs as the season goes on and into the playoffs, if the offense just finds a little bit of rhythm, just a tiny bit, they just got to find a little bit, they'll be Super Bowl contenders again.
No, I totally agree. And to the last topic we go, and the Detroit Lions, they're on the outside looking in right now. They're not in the playoffs. Look at all those teams that are, in the playoffs, and they're not. What do you see right now? Do you think they're going to make the playoffs? I know it's still plenty of time left, but sooner or later it's going to be December.
Yeah, you look at the board of teams that are in front of them, and it's a little tough. The NFC is deep this year. There's a lot of really good teams in there. And you look through and try to find who's going to drop out. Look at the 49ers. Oh, they look pretty good. They look really solid so far. Seahawks have been awesome. They just had a tough loss to the Rams, but the Rams are a top contender. Buccaneers are sliding a little bit, but you have to figure they're probably going to win that division.
Yeah.
But the Panthers have been pretty solid. They could jump them with a few wins. I've made this point a lot recently, and I'm going to keep defending it. I see their way in being over the Packers. I think the Packers have been a little over what their team is. They're overperforming. And I think, in a division against the Bears and the Lions and not the Vikings, clearly the Vikings don't have it this year, but I think the path for the Lions is jump over the Packers, and then we can probably see you in the playoffs. I don't see the Seahawks dropping out. I don't see the 49ers dropping out. I think the Bears are good. The Rams and the Eagles, they're obviously going to stay here. It's going to be a tough way in. The Lions got to do a little soul searching, but I think they can get their way in. They're just going to have to beat up on the Packers.
I agree with you. I think the Lions will make the playoffs. It doesn't matter which one of these teams are not going to make it. I'm going to go the different route. You said the Packers. I think the Bears. Look, they have 7 wins right now, but all it takes is a little bit of a collapse in September, November, December, and they barely beat the Vikings too, and it was an ugly game. They needed McCarthy to throw 2 picks and him to be inaccurate the whole game. So I'm going to go with the Bears. I think they'll slide maybe towards the end of the year. Lions, I just feel like that Packers-Lions game is so huge in next week, and I think they'll win that game, and that's when you're going to really see the Lions hit their stride maybe for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I like the Bears. I like Caleb Williams, so I'm rooting for them to keep their playoff spot. Maybe I'm being irrational with it, but I do think that the Packers' offense has just been atrocious, just really, really ugly. It's not on the level where it can beat some of these elite defenses in the NFC. I think the Lions' offense is much better than the Packers' defense, if that makes sense. And sure, you got Micah Parsons out there, but the Packers just been underwhelming. And I know they've got a solid record, 6-3-1, but it's just not been enough to really convince me. And some of these wins that they've had are not all that convincing. And
They barely beat the Giants.
Yeah, and some of the losses they've had have been just really, really disgusting. So the Lions' path in, what we'll say is it's probably by jumping one of their NFC North opponents. Which one it is, we'll find out.
Sounds good. And that's going to wrap it up here at Football X's and O's. You can catch us every Monday. We also have 8th Hour Bowl every Thursday. Please like and subscribe and let us know in the comments if you think the Detroit Lions will make the playoffs.